AI tools are everywhere right now. They're fast, they're easy to use, and a lot of designers are probably wondering, do I even need to bother learning 3D software? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikkel Drew Pelham. I talk about digital fashion design tools, how to communicate your ideas clearly, and how to turn creativity into a sustainable fashion business. If you're tired of guessing what fashion software to use, what skills to learn, and what actually matters as you build your brand, this channel is for you. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep learning with me. I have always believed that fashion tech makes sense when it makes sense. Not every tool is for every designer at every stage. So yeah, I get why you might feel like, I've got AI, so what about 3D? But let's talk about when 3D actually makes sense to use. First of all, the hype right now isn't around 3D, it's around AI. And for good reason. AI is accessible, it's exciting, and for certain things, it's genuinely useful. You can generate initial design concepts quickly, you can explore creative directions, even create photoreal images of your garments to show a client your vision. But here's when AI can get designers into trouble. They show something that looks incredible in an AI render, and then find out it can't actually be made, or it can't be made at the cost they quoted. AI gives you a picture. It doesn't give you construction data, accurate fit, or anything a manufacturer can work from. If you hand a manufacturer an AI-generated image and ask for a quote, they're guessing. And that guess is probably going to be wrong. So 3D isn't competing with AI. It does a different job. And once you understand what the job is, you'll know whether it belongs in your process. So when would you use 3D? Well, here are some real scenarios where Clo 3D genuinely changes the game for independent and emerging designers. First, testing construction before you commit. You have a design in your head or on paper. You think it works, but doesn't. 3D lets you see if the construction actually holds up before you spend money on a sample. You can catch issues with seaming, proportions, and fit early before you're $200 or $500 deep into a sample that doesn't work. And if you're presenting that design to a buyer or client, you want to know it can be produced and produced at the cost you originally quoted. The last thing you want is to sell something that can't be made or something that you'll lose money on because you didn't get accurate costing from your manufacturer. Second, understanding true costing. This goes back to the last point I made. It's also a point that's very underrated and shouldn't be. When you build a garment in 3D alongside your flat sketch, you're giving your manufacturer a much more complete picture. And that means they can give you a more accurate quote, which then means you know how to price your product so that you make a profit, which you need to do if you plan to stay in business. And if you're producing yourself, Clo allows you to make a marker so you know the yield for your fabric. How many times have you sort of guesstimated how much fabric you need to get when you go to the fabric store? Eventually getting a little more, or the hassle of having to go back to the fabric store because you bought too little starts to add up. Fabric cost is usually at least half of the price of the garment. So knowing your fabric yield, that's real cost data, not a guess. Third, communicating your full design vision. Your flat sketch tells the construction story. But as I mentioned in this video, silhouette, drape, how the fabric actually behaves on the body, that's harder to convey in 2D. 3D fills that gap. Together, the flat sketch and the 3D render give your manufacturer and you the most complete picture of what you're trying to create. And finally, exploring design variations without the cost. Different colorways, fabrics, print scales, graphic placements. Designers change their minds and try out lots of different options when they're putting a collection together. Doing all of that physically is not only expensive, but it's also slow. In 3D, you can iterate quickly and make decisions with confidence because what you're seeing is based on real measurements and fabric data, not an approximation. In case you've decided 3D is the best option for you, you should know there are a few caveats. 3D requires not only acquiring software and learning it, but you may need a hardware upgrade as well. You'll want a computer that meets at least Clothes' minimum requirements. And it does need to be a computer. It's not an iPad app. And you need enough processing power to run the simulations. That's not a reason 3D doesn't make sense for you, but it is something you need to plan for before you start. Now, here's something that might surprise you. If you're still figuring out garment construction, 3D might actually help you learn, because you can see in real time how your pattern pieces translate to a garment on a body. You can also see what happens when a pattern piece is shaped wrong, when it doesn't fit properly, or how it alters the drape when you change the fabric. It makes the connection between flat pattern and finished garment way more tangible than just imagining it. At the end of the day, using fashion design software doesn't require you to use every tool that's out there. Know what real problem you're trying to solve within your workflow or phase of development, and then choose accordingly. AI has its place, 3D has its place. They're not competing, they're different stages of your process. Thanks for watching this week's video. If you watch this and you're thinking 3D might actually fill a gap for you, be sure you check out my beginner Clothes 3D course that's relaunching this month with updated lessons, more practice exercises, and extra resources. Click the link in the description to check out the course outline and sign up for a free trial. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with another designer if you found it helpful. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time.